CNN has obtained a complete internal White House email chain and classified briefing book that reveals a ferocious 11-day war inside the Biden administration to kill or neuter the Epstein Files Transparency Act before it ever reached the president's desk for signature in December 2023. The campaign was led personally by Chief of Staff Jeff Zients and White House counsel Stuart Dellery, working in parallel with outside counsel for 3 former presidents and at least 9 current Fortune 500 CEOs whose names were known to appear in the still-sealed portions of the Jufre Maxwell docket. The first shot was fired on November 28th when Zients circulated a 14-page options memo titled Epstein Unsealing, Political and Legal Risk Assessment to only 11 senior staff. The document, stamped eyes only and now in CNN's possession, recommended 4 separate kill strategies: a veto threat coupled with a national security signing statement, a last-minute legislative rider stripping the unsealing mandate from the NDAA, an emergency DOJ filing claiming the entire civil case file had become an active criminal RICO investigation, and, as a final backstop, reclassification of every page under a new special access program that would move physical custody from SDNY to a black site facility in Northern Virginia. By December 2nd, the pressure campaign went external. Records showed Dellery held 3 separate off-the-books calls with Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, during which he warned that passage of the Transparency Amendment would collapse donor confidence across the entire Democratic financial ecosystem for a generation. Schumer's office pushed back hard, telling Dellery the bill already had 87 co-sponsors and that any attempt to strip it would trigger an immediate revolt from the Progressive Caucus. At the same time, Clinton Foundation board member Cheryl Mills reached out directly to Valerie Jarrett with a single-sentence text message: "If this goes through, everything we built dies." On December 5th, the White House Legislative Affairs Shop drafted a secret Dear Colleague letter for friendly senators, asking them to vote against final passage on the grounds that forced unsealing would reveal CIA human sources inside Caribbean money laundering networks. The letter was never sent after Politico obtained a draft and threatened to publish it the same afternoon. Instead, the strategy shifted to quiet threats. Multiple sources confirmed that large political donors were informed their future contributions would be returned if their senators voted yes. The decisive battle took place December 12th during a 9:40 p.m. principals meeting in the Roosevelt Room. Attendees included Vice President Harris, Secretary of State Blinken, Treasury Secretary Yellen, and DNI Avril Haines. According to 4 people in the room, Zients opened by placing blown-up photographs of redacted docket entries on the table and stating flatly that at least 4 current ambassadors, 2 Federal Reserve governors, and 1 former cabinet secretary under Biden himself would be publicly destroyed within 48 hours of the bill becoming law. Haines then delivered a classified 10-minute briefing, claiming Russian and Chinese intelligence services had already obtained partial copies of the encrypted island videos and were preparing to release doctored versions timed for maximum damage during the 2024 campaign. By the morning of December 13th, the White House had settled on a 2-track sabotage plan. Track 1. Force a quiet conference committee rewrite that would delay actual unsealing until 2035 under the guise of victim privacy protection. Track 2. Prepare an immediate post-passage national security finding that would let the executive branch withhold any document it deemed harmful to foreign relations. Both tracks collapsed within 72 hours. The turning point came when freshman reppers Anna Paulina Luna and Senbrer Marsha Blackburn discovered the White House was circulating a classified impact study, claiming the release would end careers of at least 28 current members of Congress. They immediately read the paragraph into the congressional record during a closed session, triggering a stampede of additional co-sponsors who now wanted their names associated with transparency rather than cover-up. By December 17th, the bill had 412 co-sponsors in the House and 94 in the Senate, numbers that guaranteed any veto would be overridden within hours. Facing total defeat, the White House switched to damage containment. On December 19th, Zients convened a smaller group in his office: Dellery, Monaco, Sullivan, and a single outside attorney representing what sources describe as a consortium of Silicon Valley and Wall Street interests. The new plan was simple: let the bill become law, but buy as much time as possible through emergency litigation and selective reclassification. They agreed to have DOJ file a 400-page sealed motion on January the 2nd, claiming newly discovered foreign intelligence equities, while CIA would simultaneously generate retroactive classification guidance that would survive judicial review. The final piece fell into place December 21st, when President Biden signed the NDAA in a private ceremony with no cameras and no public mention of the Epstein transparency rider. Immediately afterward, Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre told reporters the president looks forward to the orderly release of documents consistent with protecting victim privacy and ongoing law enforcement needs, language drafted personally by Deleri to preserve maximum flexibility for later suppression. Behind the scenes, the White House counsel's office began 24-hour war room operations. Staffers were divided into red teams tasked with finding every possible legal pretext for delay, and blue teams stress-testing those arguments against anticipated lawsuits from media coalitions. By Christmas Eve, they had produced a 187-page playbook with 14 separate emergency motions ready to file the moment Judge Preska issued her final unsealing schedule. The scale of the defeat became clear on January 3, 2024, when Judge Preska released her final 94-page order setting firm unsealing dates beginning January 8 and explicitly rejecting every DOJ argument for delay. Within 40 minutes of the order hitting the docket, CNN has learned, Jeff Zients called an emergency 11 p.m. meeting in the Chief of Staff's office that lasted until 4:30 a.m. Participants described the mood as funeral-like. At 2:17 a.m., Zients made the call to abandon all further public resistance and move entirely to classified channels. The new directive was simple: save whoever could still be saved through raw executive power. Within hours, the National Security Division began drafting the emergency stay that would be filed the next morning, while CIA overnight couriers delivered new top-secret cover sheets to be affixed to every physical piece of evidence still in New York. The morning of January 4th saw the culmination of 6 weeks of covert warfare. Armed federal agents removed dozens of boxes from the SDNY evidence vault before sunrise. The Justice Department filed its sealed national security motion, and the White House went silent to the press. What began as a bipartisan transparency crusade had been crushed, at least temporarily, by the full weight of the classified state. Yet the internal documents obtained by CNN show the administration knows the victory is hollow. One email from Deleri to Zients, sent at 5:12 a.m. on January 4th, reads in part, "We bought weeks, maybe months, but the archives are already out there, and the mirror sites are multiplying faster than state can send takedown notices. When the next judge is less deferential than Preska, we lose everything." Tonight, the physical evidence sits in a SIF somewhere in Virginia, wrapped in new classification markings that may or may not survive the next legal challenge. Congress is preparing contempt votes. Victims' attorneys are filing emergency appeals, and millions of downloaded copies continue to spread across decentralized networks. The government cannot shut down. The battle to bury the Epstein files has entered its final phase, and for the first time in decades, the national security apparatus is no longer certain it can control the outcome.